We see them perfectly created in the mind and the image of the Creator. And let's say it together. And so it is. Hi, Elaine. Whoa. I'm not going to apologize for that, but I'm that dancing got me going. That dancing got me going. Fantastic. All right. 10 seconds. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Wednesday morning class coming to you today from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina, for you that are out of state or even out of country. We have people in Sweden and different places that join us now and then, and we want to welcome you to today's class, and especially you that are here in person. Thank you so much for showing up in person. That's always wonderful for me to see bodies out there. Wow. Well, we've had yoga dancing, and we've had, I don't know what we call what we just had, but we had some channeling about prayer and intercessory, and Spirit is willing to come through today. It's willing always to come through. It's just looking for a willing place to open up to it. So thank you for being so willing today to let Spirit move through us and as us in this class today. All right, we are continuing the work of Gene Davis, who is no longer with us on this dimension and has allowed me to have the rights to his information, in which we're doing our best to keep this message of life over death alive. And that is important, life over death alive. This is a big one. We've taken on a big challenge here to dare stare death in the face and say that you are the last enemy to be overcome. Say it again. It doesn't get bigger than that, because there's nothing more solid in people's belief systems is you've got to, I just heard it yesterday, I think Tim said it, you got to pay taxes and die. That's the most certain thing. Well, I disagree with that, because we live in what's called the age of uncertainty. How many has heard of the age of the principle of uncertainty, which is from a quantum scientist, Heisenberg, who taught that everything is not certain. And this all came from them observing the electron in the cell. And at that time, through the Newtonian science, they saw a wave and a particle. And they thought the wave's not the particle and the particle's not the wave. And then they found out that actually the particle was the observed wave. It was the same thing observed differently. The minute they observed the wave, it went into a particle. When the particle was not being observed, it went back into the wave. So this is a part of the healing of the age of separation that for many, many years has gone on through Newtonian science that is helping to heal that in the fact that a lot of things we thought were separate are not separate at all, but they are the different forms of the same thing. Are you with me? And this is why last year, if you remember, I taught one of the great shifts going on in the healing community is from the paradigm of body, mind, spirit. Body, mind, spirit is not a goal. It is a means. It's useful and remains useful in 3D teachings because we are 3D humans and we understand things in height, width, breadth, and so on and so forth. We understand things in 3D as 3D humans, right? And when we get into more fifth dimension, higher fourth and fifth dimension, it kind of loses us and it seems foolish to the third dimensional brain. Woo-woo. Oh, you're so woo-woo. Do you realize the stuff they believe was also woo-woo at one time also? It's all relative. A lot of things that are solid science today was probably started out as a theorem or a principle that at the time was not the norm and therefore was seen as suspect until it stabilized itself as a norm. Well, we're on the front of new norms that are coming in that are from higher fifth dimension that are seeming to be woo-woo to third dimensional thinking, but actually are beginning to stabilize themselves as the new norms and new possibilities of humanity. So yes, we've taken on a big one, death. Behind all teaching is consciousness. Heidi, my friend back here, is with us, who I've known for 40 years or whatever it is. We walked together into a message of life and immortality for all those years. We meeting after meeting after meeting after teaching, maybe by the thousands of meetings teaching the life of immortality until we're one of the 2 or 3 left who did not die. It did not work. Is it to say that it's not true? No. But no, it did not work. It is not manifested. But that doesn't make the teaching not true. But the third dimensional mind says, the old science says, prove it or it's not true. That's ridiculous. You've got to get into uncharted territory where things happen that you have no past truth, no way to prove it, or you'll never expand out into uncharted territories of consciousness where new patterns are being made that have never been before. And that's what we call being co-creative. Co-creative means the expansion of consciousness beyond its immediate boundaries into new patterns of expanding the consciousness, or what we call the evolution of consciousness. So, we know from a more mystical teachings of the mystery schools and all of that, I think, and metaphysics, we understand that as spiritual beings, we are immortal already. We don't have to attain spiritually immortality. The spirit is immortal because it has no beginning, it has no end, it has no birth, it has no death, and it doesn't need to incarnate over and over. There's no reincarnation at all that benefits the spirit, because the spirit can't grow, it can't be diminished, it can't evolve, it just is. What do you think you're talking about in here when we do I am? I am that I am. When you say that and don't put a label on it, you're not putting a level to it. When I start saying, I am tired, I am sick, I am this, I am that, then you're putting a lesser label to something that just is in its eternal state. Spirit doesn't need to grow, can't grow. It is, it is, it is, it is. So you say, well, if the spirit doesn't need to reincarnate, what is reincarnation about? Well, I'm going to make a pretty challenging state here, but in the realm of spirit, there is no reality to reincarnation whatsoever. So, stay with me. So where is the benefit of reincarnation? In the part of the spirit that has lowered its frequency to a different form, much like steam changing its temperature to water. Same thing, 2 temperatures, same thing. So when the spirit brings its frequency down enough to attach itself to the density of the body, we call it the soul. One of the wrong teachings of religion is the immortality of the soul. The soul is not immortality, but it's trying to attain the immortality of the spirit. So when we say original sin here in HeartLight, we know that we're not talking about the one the Catholics came up with in 315 AD. But we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater if sin is the belief in separation, as the Course tells us. Then where do you think the belief in separation happened was in some dimension of the mind itself. Are you with me?
Yes.
So when spirit became mind, which is a more dense level of spirit, and came closer, and then the split happened in the mind or in the soul, and part of her, because it is her, suke in the Greek, divided. And the Bible says we are double-minded. Do you know that's in the Bible? You are double-minded. You're carnally minded, you're spiritually minded. Isn't that interesting? I want you to stay with this. I know this isn't our class, but I'm on a roll today. Just have to let me go. I'm a wild card today.
You always do, David. We like it.
How many's with me so far? Spirit is. Spirit cannot change itself. Spirit is what you call God, source, whatever it is. It has no birth, it has no death. It is the infinite essence of all being without definition or location, has no location of itself. It is transcendent of everything you could ever call it. It just is. But what is wants to be defined. So to do that, it had to lower its vibration. Just as steam had to lower its vibration to take on a more dense form of itself, which is water. Water is a much more dense form than steam. Steam is kind of, I don't know about steam. It's kind of etheric. I can't get a hold of it. You don't have dimensions. It's kind of mystical. That's why people see spirituality as so mystical, because they don't know it in the other forms in which it manifests itself. So it brings the temperature down, and the water molecules get close further apart, and there's more space. I mean, there's less space as steam. Steam has a lot of space, but then the space becomes less, so it takes on a heavier form. All right, spirit, water is soul. Now you got the soul between the ice and between the spirit. So soul's kind of the in-between place between truly who you are as a whole created being and what you've become as a human being is the soul. I even have scripture in the Bible for Christians and literalists that says the soul that sinneth shall die. That doesn't sound like the soul is immortal to me. It says the soul can die. Also, Jesus is quoted in the Bible. It said, beware of him that can kill both body and soul. How can you kill something that's immortal? So there's an aspect of the soul that identifies with the mortality of the body. But the other half didn't fall, but stayed with the spirit. So you've got a split soul. Part of it's with spirit, part of it's with body. The part that stayed with the body is the spiritual mind. For you have a spiritual mind, but the part that went with the body is the carnal mind. Where do we get the word carnal? It's actually from the influence of the word carne or carnage, which means physical flesh, body. So where does the healing need to happen? In the soul. Divine wisdom of the universe looked at this and said, okay, I get it. These people are so dense now who identify with their body, they're not going to get this in 70 or 80 years. No way. And that's where reincarnation was invented as a tool to give the soul enough lifetimes to wake up and unite itself until it is one soul connected to the spirit and the body together, making them one new creation. A whole different human than the 3D model. So it's the soul, her, that is incarnating, but he loves her so much, he said, I'll go along for the ride. So the Spirit incarnates with her, not that it needs to, but it does it because he loves her, because he's waiting for her to come up to the level of him, and then we'll have the marriage supper of the Lamb. And the first thing that Jesus did was at the wedding when he made the water become wine. Every one of you are an event center for the greatest wedding that could ever take place between the soul and the spirit. Now, as that's happening, then there's no longer a soul and a spirit that's separate. You have something new. I don't know what to call it, but we got something new now. We got a whole new essence, a whole new substance of something. But then you have the body. That's the one. That's the one that has fallen so deeply into the density that it can't even remember much of anything of where it came from. It's lost its universal mind. And in the place, the ego has set up a different system of mind. A different way of perceiving, a different way of thinking, a different way of believing has all been set up as a system of belief systems which has produced itself as the religions of the world. Let's tell it like it is. Religions of the world are generally based upon I'm not you and you are not me. And if you're not me, you better fear me. Because I'm out for you. And you're seeing that pathology emerging on the body politic today. It's happening in the mall. It's happening in the schools. It's happening everywhere. People are taking guns and shooting each other and doing crazy things. Is our own collective pathology that is emerging up and saying, you didn't take care of me. You didn't balance me in all the incarnations that you've been to, so I'm going to get in your face. I've given you grace for long enough. Grace is such a tender wooing of spirit, like, please choose right. Oh, please choose right. Oh, use your choice to do right. And pretty soon it says, okay, wait a minute, you're not going to do it. And that's when sovereignty takes over. That's when the universe says, enough is enough. All you've done is suppress and suppress and suppress, and suppressing causes depression, anxiety, fear. Every neurosis of humanity has been the fact that we've not balanced and we've not taken care of from ages and generations back until there's no other place for it to go but the toxicity of it to show up on the body politic.
Amen. All right.
I'm going to have a drink.
Well, please do.
And I won't tell you what it is. As you see, I'm passionate about this. Does anybody get what I'm saying to you? It's the soul. You're either carnally minded, which means the part of the mind that identifies with the body, or you're spiritually minded, which is a part of the mind that identifies with the spirit.
Are you saying we can't be both at once?
I'm not saying that at all.
Okay, good.
So what healed that? I'll tell you what healed that. A statement made by the father of quantum theory, Max Planck, Einstein, who said, wait a minute, folks. Everything is energy. That did it for me. Almost 30 years ago. When Deepak Chopra said on a tape, what we thought was empty space in the human cell, because all we saw was a little proton, neutron spinning around and all this empty space. He said, wait a minute. When we go into the subtle levels of reality, it's not empty at all. It was a subtle field of possibility. Infinite possibility lies in every cell of your body. And I thought, I found God in me. It wasn't a mystical God. It wasn't a little man, a little white man with a beard. It wasn't anything that religion had ever taught me or told me. I found a field of all possibility living innately within my cells of my body. And when I heard that, my cells lit up, all 50 trillion of them. It wasn't just I get it in the head. Because my head didn't get it, Elaine. My head said, do we believe this? He was accusing me of woo-woo. He was accusing me, you're going to ruin your ministry. Everything is going to happen. But I had it through the intelligence of the cells of my body. I had a cellular awakening. And I hope you have that experience sometime before this lifetime is over. If you have not, I hope you do. Hope you feel every cell of your body light up. And when it does, the light will ray out of your body, and you'll wear light as a raiment and a garment, as Jesus did on the high mountain of transfiguration. And the light shone out of him, and he wore it as a garment of white golden light. Where do you think that came from? In his cells. And he said, what I've done, you shall do. And even greater, because there's more of you than me. Oh my, I hope you get this. I hope you get it. I hope you get it. So yes, incarnation is for the purpose of the soul to evolve itself back to the original frequency of creation of the spirit self until they become one. So, Rhonda, to answer your question, body, mind, and spirit is an old paradigm to everything is energy. Up until that, as a student of Course in Miracles that says I'm not my body, that my body is not real, which I tried to grasp but couldn't, because as much as I love the Course psychologically, it's a good psychological system, but when it came about the body, I thought, you're missing it. As all these schools of thought miss it somewhere. None of them are 100% right. That's why you got to bring in a little here and a little of that. And that's what HeartLight is that I think people don't understand here. They want us to be identified with something when we're identified with many different, because we've pulled out fragments of truth from all spiritual schools. Kabbalah, ancient wisdom, Course in Miracles, mystical Bible, Essene teaching, Gnostic teaching, all of that you'll find here. So somebody comes in and they say they're in Kabbalah, so I just happened to be that Sunday kind of using Kabbalah. They go, I found what I'm looking for. Yay, somebody teaches Kabbalah. They come back next week and I'm on the Course and they go, what is that? Oh, I thought there was going to be Kabbalah. And that's why people sometimes come and go, because they're looking somewhere to land. Because the ego is looking for an identity outside of themselves. Are you hearing me? Everybody wants to be a Christian, or they want to be a Buddhist, or they want to be this. Everybody feels secure in the confinement of the label. Not here. If you're looking for the label, you won't be comfortable here. Oh my goodness. So I just had to share that. Our spirit had to share that with you today. So again, I say spirit has no reason to incarnate. But he loves her. See, he's pneuma. Pneuma. We don't have this in the English. I don't know about the other languages that are represented here. But in English, we don't have the masculine ending and the feminine ending and the neutral ending like some of the more romantic languages do, Spanish and whatever. It's by gender at the end. We don't have that. But in the Greek, you have that. So you have the word for spirit is pneuma, which has a masculine ending. Psyche. And by the way, we get the words psychology, psychic. All of the mind things come from that Greek word psyche. That has a feminine word ending. But when you come to the body, soma, it's neutral. So you got masculine, you got feminine, and you got neutral. Or to you, some energetics, you got Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Now you know that if you'd taken our class. You'd understand the three energy channels that run through the body. The yin, the yang, and the neutral. And how they cross each other and create vortexes called chakras. Let's all take a deep breath. I'm saying all that to say, yes, we've taken on a big subject here that really I had resistance to do. And I do every time I'm led to start teaching it again. I think, oh, not again. And the reason I say that is because when I look in the mirror and see aging, and I see degeneration, when I'm teaching regeneration, I'm deeply challenged to shut it down. Shut it down. Stay out of it. You're getting yourself in trouble. But I've come to the conclusion, and I was telling this to Heidi, that there has to be a generation that teaches it and puts it out there in the collective consciousness. We may not, or one of us in here, be a part of a generation that overcomes the last enemy, death, and I'm quoting the Bible, and the last enemy, death. Death is not your friend. It can be your enemy. Unless you're laying there with some horrible disease and it can be your ultimate healing experience. But everybody takes it so normal that we're born to die, we're born to die, we're born to die. Jesus said, I come to give you life. You know who were the dead in the Bible? People walking around breathing. He says, for you are dead in your sins. Paul called people walking around dead. Listen, I've preached to the dead in church.
They don't have that light inside of them. I can see that.
People sometimes are just dead to their feelings, to their emotion, to their inner self. You can talk about it, you can learn about it, but you can't let it express itself. And you've imprisoned it in your humanity. That's why I loved seeing all you move today. You know, I've not been successful getting you to move on Sunday the way I want you to, but thank you, you that came and moved today. It was beautiful to watch it. And Julie has brought that to us. Thank you, Julie.
Yes.
You did a wonderful job. Movement is everything to evolution itself. All right, let's try to get into the class a little bit. Today will be an introduction to what we're really getting ready to get into, and I think it's been a missing piece that we did not have, Heidi, back in those days of teaching this, and we didn't have the understanding of actually what I call the process. We've not known how to, or the way to manifest. In fact, we were so naive to believe because it said it in the Bible, then it'll be. Things like, what's some of the things we used to say? I'm the bread of heaven. Any man that shall eat of this bread shall not die. That's supposed to be words of Jesus. Whoa, that means we don't have to die. That's all we heard. We don't have to die. We didn't ask, what's the bread that we're supposed to be eating? What does that represent? The Bible said it. It must be. So we were basing on the literalism of a lot of the scriptures in the Bible that says that you can put death as a last enemy under your feet. It didn't work because we didn't have. And this is why, hear me, what we didn't have, because we were still in a level of being suspect to science, because we still was in a black, white, this and that world, that science and spirituality and religion were two separate things, just as we believe that evolution and creation are two separate things. I mean, that's not long ago. That's in our lifetime that we were still hanging out in that world of this or that. And if you're this, you can't be that. Okay? And that's why I came up with the term crelution. That's my word. That's my word. And I've asked people, join me, be a crelution. When people, oh, do you believe in creationism or do you believe in evolution? Say, no, I believe in crelution. I believe they both work together as a reality, that you can't have one without another. And then they'll look at you like, then I don't know what you believe. Because you didn't pick one over the other. So we didn't have the way. In 1990, 89 actually, as I've shared with you, I heard the words deoxyribonucleic acid formed like written in the sand of my consciousness. It was like a finger wrote deoxyribonucleic acid. I had to admit I didn't know what it was, but I had never used that. I had never any reason to use the word deoxyribonucleic acid in a conversation. Nothing had come up that would made me use that word. So I'd never uttered it, I'd never spoken it, and I didn't know how to really say it. I had to learn to say deoxyribonucleic acid. Yeah. I think I had to learn again. And it took a while. It took maybe, I don't know, a week or two. I remember I'm in the shower and I'm trying to remember it and say it. And it was DNA, of course. It's just DNA. It's the technical word for DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. If I say it real fast, I can do it. And I've shared with you from that, I opened up to it. Of course, my carnal part of my mind said, that's ridiculous. You're not a geneticist. You're not a scientist. You have no degree in this. And it challenged me with my academia background because of 12,000 years of reductionism. Everybody is a specialist. You know, I go to some places here for my back, and if it's my ankle, I go to another doctor. If it's my knee, I go to another doctor. If it's my hip, I go to another doctor. I'm all over the building on every part. It's so hard to find someone who will holistically treat me and realize that my body is as a whole, but only in parts. So, you know, we come from a culture that you're not smart enough. You don't have the degree on the wall. If you don't have the label, you know, you got to have the reverend in front of you to be certified as a real, authentic minister. And you got to have all these titles and whatever. And I have to share this with you is the reason, and that did challenge me because I don't have the background education for that subject. Who am I? Who am I? I call it the accuser of the brethren. In the Bible, it's called the accuser of the brother, which is a part of my mind accused me of being really not able to do that. But I took to it like a duck to water. I mean, I just started getting it. And there wasn't a whole lot about DNA in 89, 80. We just finished the O.J. Simpson trial, which every day we heard about DNA testing. That was kind of new to hear the word DNA coming across the mass media outside of the academia of those that could only have the license to use it. Now it was being used in the court. And then Bill Clinton got on there and talked about, we're way ahead in the genome project of translating the human DNA genome. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Here it comes again, across the mass media, into the collective consciousness. DNA, DNA, DNA. Just starts showing up everywhere. So, you know, all you can do at that time, because I had no reference to what to do with it without the formal training, but to be willing, a little willingness. I was just willing. That's all I could do. I'm willing. What do you want me to do with this? Who am I? You know, that's why the ego says, who are you? Then I get a call within days from somebody I hadn't talked to forever and said, I don't know why I'm calling you, but I've been dreaming or meditating, whatever they want, and you come before me, and I am to give you this message and tell you there's a doctor out in California that's teaching DNA activation workshops. I said, what? I didn't know DNA could be activated. You know, I'm still into DNA's written in stone, the old paradigm, before epigenetics and all of that, and I'm going, well, that's interesting. Well, I couldn't get off my mind, so I looked up this doctor. Dr. Gerard was his name, out in California, and he was going to have an intensive DNA activation workshop in Scottsdale, Arizona. I called a friend that I knew that lived out there. I said, can I come and see you? I'm signing up for this workshop. I don't know what I'm going to, but I'm going to this workshop. And I went to this very, very intensive, I think 5-day workshop, and learned more about DNA than I probably wanted to know. But what we did is we learned to activate it through meditation by using certain music that had been done to create certain frequencies and vibration to change the DNA at a vibrational sound level, which was done right here in North Carolina, by the way, called visionary music. They moved to Florida now, but at one time they were right up here, not far away into the mountain of North Carolina. So I purchased the 4, and I was so pumped and excited about it, I put together this little packet of, it was CDs at that time, and the teachings, and I put it together and put myself out and said, I'm going to start teaching DNA activation. First place that opens up to me, Unity of Charlotte. Unity of Charlotte, when it was on Woodlawn. I was going in there speaking. They liked me, and I called the person that was the pastor at that time. They said, sure, you can do any workshop that you want on Saturday and Sunday. I said, well, I'd like to come into a DNA activation workshop. And that was my first one, Elaine, right there, that I did. And that's what I started doing, going around all these different churches I'd been to and doing DNA activation workshop. And the beauty of that story was that was only a stepping stone. Because if I hadn't been in that, I would have never found the famous 528 hertz love hertz. I would have never found it. Because, and I'll let you hear it. Which is this fork. My reason was that I was looking for a C above a middle C that was 528 hertz. That was vibrating 528 times a second. That's what a hertz is. In Western 12-tone temperament music, we don't have that because we have closed octave music. C to C close, C to C close, C to C close. Why am I getting this? I don't know. I don't know why, but we're doing it. And I could find a 256, I could find all these different frequencies, but not the 528. And of course my brain generalized and said, okay, 512, 528, close, it's in the fives. And that's when this other little part of me came alive and says, in the world of frequency, you have to be specific and on target with the exact frequency. You cannot generalize. And that's when something phenomenal showed up into my life that has changed my world for 22 years, called the solfeggio frequencies. At that moment, I learned there were 6 frequencies, and we don't know how far it goes back. I say to Atlantis. Egypt would use frequencies for initiates laying on rose quartz tables in the pyramids. I don't know how far it goes back. It's called the Ankh, which is a key, which I believe was a little tuning fork that sounded and resonated with the initiates. But finally it made it to the early pre-Catholic Church. And when they were singing Latin, they produced these 6 sounds of the original solfeggio. Not solfeggio, original solfeggio. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Ut meaning ut quint laxus. Re meaning resine fabris. And here's the one. Mi, mara gestorum, miracle in Latin and biochemists using to repair DNA. I went, oh my God, I gotta have it. I gotta have a 528. Now, I didn't know anything about tuning forks at that time. I was just trying to find some instrument, something that would give me a 528, and the universe showed up again in another strange call from somebody I hadn't talked to in years and said, and I was sharing this, and they said, you know, David, you can have a tuning fork made into any frequency you want, and gave me the name of Biosonics. Here in the United States, it was making tuning forks at that time. I said, really? A tuning fork? Now, all I had about a tuning fork was my folks had some guy come and tune our piano every year with a little tuning fork and hit it and tighten and loosen until the piano was tuned. That's all I knew about a tuning fork. During that time, the information entered into my mind. Now, I want to say that the Catholic Church using that, a lot was lost when they organized into the Catholic Church at the Nicene Council in the 4th century. Books of the Bible were lost. 29 books were put outside of the Bible. The Apocrypha, all these books, the Maccabees, all of them was edited out until we have these 66 books called the Bible today. That was all under Constantine and those who were forming the church. The Christian church of today, the universal one church, by the way. So, and when they sang it in Latin, which I have, it's on my website, you can hear them chant in Latin. It's phenomenal. So they're chanting, and people are empowered, people are getting healed, all kinds of powerful things are going on. And then the church, as it organized, realized for us to be the one and only universal church, we got to learn to hold our people. And the only way to hold them is by scaring them with fear. And so let's take Dante and have hell, and let's get all this original sin and the Trinity, and all those things were formed in the 4th century in a way to keep people in the box of religion. And let me tell you, there's still people who's come out of Catholicism that Catholicism has not come out of them.
That's true.
There's still people a little afraid. You know, I may go to one of the rings of Dante's hell. You know, and I have some of that in me from the Pentecostal church. All this stuff lives in our first chakra, our root chakra. Oh, but we're smart up here. Anyway, I don't know, why am I telling this today? I don't know. I question myself so much. But remember, I'm just facilitating here. I'm not controlling these classes. So anyway, the Catholic Church, of course, said, okay, we got to get rid of the power empowering people. So they brought in Guido of Azurio from southern Italy. And Guido said, I'm going to teach you how to do Gregorian chants. I'm going to show you a shortcut, so you don't have to have a whole theory of teaching. And he designed something in his hand where he could point here, point there, whatever. Took the theory completely out. And of course, when you bring somebody in, you bring their agenda with them. He looked at Ut, and he happened to have a belief that the only spiritual sounds started with vowels. So he said you can't have Ut, a consonant, so Ut was out and Do was in. And the next thing you know, Do is a deer. Huh? By Julie Andrews in the Meadow. Huh? And each one of them was changed. Now, you only had 6 by the way, which has a cosmic reason, since it is the number of the universe and carbons and atoms and everything. That's why they made you scared to death of 666. 6 carbons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. If they know that the essence of the truth of the universe lies in the cell in the field. If that's released, people would become so empowered and evolve themselves they wouldn't need religion anymore. Oh, somebody help me.
Amen.
That's what's happening right now and basically you've got a generation that's saying no to most religion, and some of you must have said no to some degree or you wouldn't be sitting here. Now, oh my, I got to say this. Now, because things are is speeding up the process of our evolution to the next level of what it means to be human. And I'm doing this because I'm trying to show you how time works. When time is out here, it's slower. Oh, remember those days? Will the day ever end? Well, that's over. But as everything spirals in, it goes a little faster, a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. Now people are saying, I don't think there's enough time in the day. I can't get everything done. I think I get up and it's time to go to bed. Because time has sped up. Greg Braden says that in consciousness and the relativity of time, a 24-hour day on a clock is experienced as 16 hours. That's why you feel the way you do, because you're trying to get in 24 hours in 16 hours. And it's impossible, because time is relative. It's relative. No, speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, speeding up. What is it speeding up for? Boom! 0.0. And that is what it means. And when time is no more, the mystery of God is finished. I know we wonder what was going on, but we are experiencing such a spiritual time. You say, no, we're experiencing one of the horrible times. Everybody's fighting. Everything is breaking down. That is the most spiritual time. The reason things are breaking down and systems are breaking down is because something is showing up that's breaking through. And I guess what Spirit wants you to know today is you chose to live in that time of this transition and this leap into the next level of redefining what being a human being is on this planet in a different and higher dimension. And thank God for you. No, we're not a large group, but we got each other. I feel so bad for people that don't have a community to do this with. You can't just go out and think everything in 3D is going to satisfy you. Being in the right relationship, living in the right house, driving the right car, having the right amount of money. All those things will never address the sacred yearning of a part of ourself that's waking up, that's been put to sleep for ages of time. We are the caterpillar who has munched on the leaf until there's hardly a leaf left. We've been munching on it so long, crawling around. Now what do? There's no leaf. I'll change. Something inside says, okay, I've gone as far as I can go in who I am, but there's something awakening inside of me of what I've never been manifested as. And when that chaos happens, what does the caterpillar do? Go and put itself in the chrysalis. And in that place, activates imaginary cells. And the imaginary cells come alive and begins to mirror. And when it looks in the mirror of itself, it doesn't see it as a caterpillar. It sees it as a butterfly, something it had never been but is becoming. For we look through the glass darkly, but we behold him with face to face. That which is perfect is come. Isn't that a great scripture? We only look through a glass darkly. That means a mirror. And the ego has taught us that we're not the one looking in the mirror. We are the one in the mirror. The one in the mirror is the illusion you. You know, I look different about every mirror in my house, but I found the best ones. There's one particularly I really like. I don't know what it is, but the light is really good in that one. And I go in there, oh, my hair looks good. Then I go stop by the other mirror and I go, oh my God.
We need to come to your house, baby. Bring that mirror here.
It's because we live in an illusion.
Let's break the mirror and behold it face to face. In the authenticity and the reality of that. So what we are going to get on, I promise you, next week is going to be on what I think is the missing principle to this moving into at least a better aging process. That's all I'll take that. I'll just take that. I'll just take a better aging process. Let me stay as healthy as I can in the aging process. I'm not greedy, but I'm on my way to something. And that is the invention of how we age has completely changed, is no longer by years. Years have nothing to do with your aging. It's what happens in the years. And that is the chipping off of telomerase enzyme or telomeres. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about some of the things we can do. What we did today is one of the best things to lengthen your telomeres is exercise, dance, and movement. There's things in diet, there's many elements to this that you can do to help to restore and lengthen your telomeres. Because when your telomeres are gone, you're dead. And the reason you're aging and disease is coming is because it's telling you that your telomeres are short. Do something about it. Gives you warning. But the recording in our head is, oh, well, I'm getting old. My mother had arthritis. I did it the other day. I said, I've got diabetes. My mother had diabetes. Her sister had diabetes. Oh, man, this is the song of the ego.
Yeah, it is. Programming.
And I'm going to close with two of my favorite scriptures that I use for this in Psalm 78. I see a generation to come that will not walk as their forefathers. I see, what does that mean? I visualize a generation. Not just a generation. I see a new generation that will not walk as their forefathers. That means you will break the ancestral story. Then it goes on over, I think, into 102 Psalms, and it says there was a groaning, a sound, I'll say a frequency and a vibration that came together so strongly that those, I want you to get this, that were appointed unto death was loosed. Show me a fundamentalist Bible preacher that will preach that. Who will kill you for the Bible. If you'd quote that, they'd still kill you, even though it's in the Bible.
Can you say it one more time?
Say it again.
I heard a groaning out of Jacob, I think it says. The groaning is the groaning that cannot be uttered. It's the travail groaning. It talks about how that all creation groans for the manifestation of the sons of God. It's a sound, it's a vibration that came up so strongly that those who were appointed to death, because the Bible says that every man has an appointment with death. It's appointed unto death to die. So everybody's got an appointment. Now, you can go to a lot of natural people and they will read your DNA and they can pretty much tell you what is the difference in your chronological age and your body age. That's two different things. You can be much older than your other age, and there's tests to do that. There's a lot of places that do it. Unfortunately, insurance is not going to pay for it, and it'll be expensive, but you can find exactly how your body is aging versus your body age. So maybe you got another 6 months, maybe you got another 6 years, maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know when that time is written in our DNA. But this says that because of the sound and the groaning, the people appointed to death were loosed from the appointment. Oh, March 13, 4 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, I'm going to have a heart attack and die. And the Spirit says, mark it out. You're not going to make that appointment. The appointment has changed. April 15th, 3 o'clock, I'm going to get diagnosed with cancer of the liver. Write it out. Now, I'm not trying to make it sound just that simple and that easy, because there's things that come into play with this. Because of epigenetics, I don't have time to get into that. This whole thing that how much environment is affecting our DNA. Means you got to watch your moods, your mentality, the consciousness in which you use food. Oh my God, all these things play into the ingredients of creating a different, and if you haven't listened to Bruce Lipton, especially on Gaia, is probably the fastest way to get his message. He'll explain all of this. He's a genius on understanding this, and he is a doctor who taught doctors at the University of Virginia and Wisconsin. So he has the credentials to do it, but he has this insight that nobody has ever had to make us understand that we have something to say about our genetic story, that we can enter in and co-create it and rewrite the script and have a different ending.
Yes.
How about a happy ending?
Let's go.
Oh, well, here we go.
David, when you do that, it's like, how can I say amen, hallelujah, and
All those things.
all those things?
I'm just waiting for you to go into tongues. That'll be the ultimate day. Oh. Well, I want. We got just a few minutes here. I want to open it up if anybody has anything. But I want to thank those who have joined us. If you've joined us online today, I hope that you have received something and many things to contemplate. And also, we thank you for your support, for you that are out there that send in a little bit to support this class and keep it going. And also you that are here are the ones that actually allow this class to stay free. And that's what we want to do. That's why we want the support here to keep us free, so we don't have to start compromising to get money so we can survive. I'm not going to play that game. We're going to take care of ourselves to keep us free for Spirit to do as it chooses to do.
I just have one thing.
Yes.
This may not be the time to talk about it, but I'm curious to know how sexuality plays into all of this.
Terry, it's coming. It's coming. I got a message. I got a message on it. It's coming. Just be a little patient with me, but it's definitely, this is one of these things that people want to sweep under the rug. They don't want to talk about. It just so upsets me that evolution has given us this part of ourselves that is so suppressed and made dirty and unmentionable that is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous how much of this runs the world, actually. Whether it's in advertising or anything else like that, there's always a sexual component in that. So I want to talk about all these things, including homosexuality. I'm going to debunk what the Bible says about that. It's totally read wrong and incorrect. It is completely made into man-made doctrine of people who fear their own feminine and their own masculine in themselves, and they project it on people. Because the ego's message is, if I can get rid of you, I can feel better about me. No, you're here to remind them what they need to heal in themselves. Abby.
I wanted to narrate a experience based on your telomeres. Based on telomeres that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, for the audience, I am a medical doctor,
Yes.
a postgraduate, and I do think about this. Now, shifting back onto what you are saying and the theoretical aspect of the mind and soul and spirit and all this, my mother was a great believer in this. And you
Was a
know,
what?
my mother was a great believer
Oh, okay.
in spirituality and
Okay.
all sorts of things, although I poo-pooed all my life, even now. Okay. But one thing I remember is that she went to some sort of a prophet or astrologer or something. And in India, at that time, there was a facility that based on your horoscope, this pandit or this astrologer could write a life story of that person depending on where the stars were at the exact time of my birth. My mother knew this because she wanted a son, and so was I. And she had all the stars and everything in front of her, so she went to him and he wrote down my life story. A lot of this, what he wrote, has come out true, that I did become a clever boy. So, and a world traveler, which I am today. Actually, it was written there that I'll be going all over the world. When I was older, senior, I would get all the degrees in the university and whatever that I desire, which I have. I have the highest degree in surgery that this face on the earth has it. I became a successful surgeon, which I am. But the point I wanted to mention was, going back to the first point I made, was about the telomeres. Okay? In that prediction, it was written that I would be dead at my age of 73.
Cancel that.
No,
Excuse me
just
interrupting.
stop it. Just stop it. Let
As
me
a wife,
speak
I
to
do.
it.
Let him talk, let him talk, let him talk.
At my age of 73. Now, guess what my age is today?
What?
73. I was born in 1948. I call myself the 1948 Ford Model T. Okay? My birthday falls in December. So I hope coming Christmas, you will think of me as somebody who has proven his astrologer
Yeah.
wrong.
Wrong.
Okay.
Means,
Love it.
that means I have to take my exercises, I have to be friendly, I have to be doing all these positive lot of things that you say they will lengthen your telomeres, which I'm doing. So I hope that you will think of me over this Christmas and hope that, we hope that this Heidi's friend in England is alive. And I'm sure you will come along and tell you the news on the Christmas day. I hope so.
Well, my birthday's in December. Who else? Beth? Yeah, we got a bunch of people turning, so we're gonna bring you in and include you into our birthday celebration. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. That's great. And I want to say, this is important for me to say, especially, and I'm not saying that all doctors and people who have gone through the universities and whatever, if that's their path, that's fine. I'm not saying all of them have missed it, but I believe that the universe has put everybody in every kind of thing. That is their path. That is where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do. So I just want to make that clear, that I'm not trying to put off on one group over another group. That there's the Bible puts it, the wheat and the tares grow up together. You know, so there's a diversity of things always going on. Bonnie?
I was going to say, congratulations to Great Britain. They finally put in a Indian Hindu
Yeah.
as their
Minister.
prime minister.
Yes, they did.
Isn't that wonderful?
But you know what is happening in India? The latest news is not very good, I'm afraid. Because Mr. Sunak is a minority in United Kingdom.
Yes.
The minority is in India making lot of noises, okay? Such as Christians, particularly Muslims, Parsis, and all other fringe religions. I'm a Hindu, so I belong to the majority. Although I don't have any qualm about any religion, otherwise I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
And what I can say is that they're all making noises. They want the President of India to be a Muslim. They want the Prime Minister of India to be Muslim. They want everybody to be Muslim, which is unthinkable. You become what you are depending on your merit and your inclination and your effort,
Right.
which I'm standing in front of
Nothing to do
you.
with
So
the
I
vote.
just hope that it doesn't go out of all proportions and people get
Right.
killed.
True. I wouldn't get too settled on any one person in any position right now, whether it's here in America or England. I think we're still trying to move around a lot of 3D things that's not going to work anyway, because another model is trying to come in, another way of government, another way of doing this is trying to show up. So I'm not sure that the answer is in the dimension that has caused the problem. We know why Einstein said that is insanity, that we keep replacing. And you know, we always do this every 4 years here. We think, oh, the new one's going to be the one. Oh, it's going to lead us to the promised land. You know, when the honeymoon's over in a few months, we're ready to shoot and start somebody else. So we're looking for something outside of ourselves that I think the kingdom of God is within you. Within you. Now, that doesn't mean we need to go wild. And I'm really not anti-government myself. I'm sorry to tell some of my lefty friends over there that we don't need any government. I do believe we need the right government that has loves the people and is for the people and advocates justice and equality. I'm for that. You know, it doesn't make me a Democrat or Republican. It just makes me a person who I think has common sense. I can't imagine anybody that is not for equality and everybody having an opportunity and a chance. All right. Well, this has been interesting. Thank you so much for coming. Did we do our offering for? Yes. Thank you for doing that. Sunday, we hope to see you. 11:15 is our Sunday service.
Do you want to mention next Wednesday?
Oh, cooking. Next Wednesday. I'm coming to that. I want to learn how to do smoothies and all that. I don't do very well with that, so I'm planning to come. Michael's going to be doing some classes on good food and whatever, and I think, you want to talk about it, Michael?
We get a microphone on? Yes, absolutely. So next Wednesday after class here and after everyone's had a chance to have their
Quiet.
bite to eat, we will be working on things like fresh juices and smoothies, things you can start or have throughout your day of nothing but fresh foods to help activate those things in your body for natural healing.
Thank you. I think that's great, and he's going to do some other different things too to kind of give us that ability to do that. All right, thank you.